Welcome to the first episode of Sizzle presents Screen the Screener. I'm Steve Mensch, he's Tyler Besman, and we are excited to kick things off. Ty, if someone asked you what this podcast is about, you'd say what?
I'd say it's two dudes that are pretty obsessed with all of sports and decided to come together and have some fun, step up to the mics, and kind of talk about their takes.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, it's all about having fun. This is not what we do for a living. If this doesn't work out, great. If no one ever listens to this, we had a good time making it.
Exactly.
Hopefully we have fun. People start to have fun with us. We start to build a fan base, but we'll see where it goes. But it's July. I feel like it was gonna be. I honestly thought when we got together, I was like, "This is gonna be slow sports now. What are we even gonna talk about?"
Right.
But there are a couple of things going on which both of us are really interested in and think they're worth talking about. And I think two kind of linked together because they're both shows about the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Hard Knocks, which is I think 2 episodes out on Max.
Yeah.
Or HBO Max now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't understand.
It's gonna be something else next week. Tune in. So Hard Knocks, which is like more of a behind the scenes of the scouting department, and then Receiver, which looks at 5 different receivers in the NFL, which is I think Debo, Kittle,
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra,
and Devontae. Yeah.
So kind of wanted to get into it, and one of the first things I talked to you about was when I saw the receivers coming out, I was like all amped up that this was going to be about more detailed about playing the receiver position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you read this coverage, you want to attack it in this way. If you see this kind of an alignment from a corner or a safety, this is how they're going to adjust their route. And I think when you look at those guys that they pick, like Devontae Adams is a perfect example. Like his ability to get off the line of scrimmage in so many different ways and create leverage on routes, how smart he is. I think the number one, how smart he is. His ability to read guys and what he needs to do to get to spots on the field. That's the kind of stuff that I was looking forward to because you can YouTube it. And I suggest if you're a fan and you really want to get into like receiver technique, YouTube Devontae Adams release.
It's insane.
Yeah. Or again, Cooper Kupp, who's not on the show, YouTube Cooper Kupp and see what he does in terms of his footwork and like that stuff. I love that stuff. That being said, I should have known better, right?
Mm.
It was always going to be about the stories about these guys and like what happened to them over the season. And you know what? It's been good.
Yeah.
I've liked it. Like, despite the fact that I don't know why I thought it was gonna be something different, I still think it's been really good. What do you think? I've watched 2. Have you watched 2?
I watched 2. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think so far?
I like it. I mean, I think I agree with you though. Like, I was kind of hoping to see them in like the grit and grime, like behind the scenes, like them in the gym, like what they do on game day, like what they do after the game, which they showed a little bit of.
Yeah, they get into that a little bit.
Yeah, but even like them breaking down their own film or like what that process looks like. But I like it so far, like hearing about Amon-Ra and like his background and like why he is kind of a psychopath in the gym and like what makes him Amon-Ra. Yeah, his dad's insane.
Not to give away any spoilers, but if you don't know his background, and this is kind of well known, but his dad's a Mr. Universe. Like his dad's a dude. Like so he obviously has I think he has 3 sons.
Yeah.
And all of them,
dogs,
crazy good athletes.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry.
And like that's the thing for me is that I came into the show having no idea that he was Mr. Universe or whatever. Like, I had no idea. I was just like, oh, his dad likes the gym, his dad likes football. Like,
right.
Just got him in at a young age because they showed him at like maybe 8, 9, 10, 11 in the gym. Like,
mm-hmm.
I don't think I looked at weight when I was that age.
Right.
So cool to see that. And then even with Devontae, like he showed like his wife and his kids, and like that's what really matters.
Yeah, they clearly have like, so for each one, again, you might want to watch a show before you listen to this. So there's definitely spoilers.
Yeah.
They clearly have a storyline. Like Kittle's is his relationship with his wife, who played basketball at Iowa, and looks like she was just a crazy good athlete herself.
Yeah.
And how they work together, which is really cool. I think Debo is more about having a young daughter, or is it son? I can't remember now.
It's a son.
Son. Yeah, it's young Debo, little Debo.
Yeah, little Debo. Yeah.
So about him and his son and about how that changed his life, that's really cool.
Yeah.
St. Brown, obviously his dad. Like one of the more interesting scenes I thought was they're having dinner, and St. Brown says his goal is to have 2 touchdowns every game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 32 touchdowns in the season. I don't know what the record is, but like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns a game. And his dad says, and it's funny because you gotta, like, you're on the outside looking in. I don't know really what their dynamic is, but I think his dad's trying to be supportive, and he's like, oh, I think you could do that easily. And St. Brown responds like, Dad, it's really hard. Like, you know, like he's thinking he's setting this goal up here.
Right.
And I think his dad trying to be supportive, but at the same time, he's like, dude, really?
Yeah.
Like, be like, you know, I think my dad, because this is my background, my dad would be like, you know, don't try to set a record every game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
if you do that, that'd be amazing. If you get 4 touchdowns this year, good for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And maybe that's why I'm on Ross St. Brown and I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
But it's one of the many, many reasons why that's the case. But like just that interaction, I was like, oh, that's so like if you're watching for entertainment purpose, you're like, that's really interesting how they kind of go back and forth. Devontae, I don't even think they don't bring Jefferson or Devontae in until the second episode.
Yeah, you don't.
Which is crazy
you don't
because those
even,
are the two guys that like.
Those are the big dogs.
Those are the guys.
Yeah.
Like no offense to the other guys because Devontae's awesome.
Yeah.
But for Devontae, it looks like it's going to be more about his frustration about where he is in
Which
his
is going to
career.
be cool to see though, because that was the biggest question
Right.
With him. Like,
And they-
obviously we've seen the season already that he played, but like it's cool to see the background because I feel like he is a pretty like quiet, more reserved guy. So it's cool to see the back end of like what's going on in his brain.
Right. And they do mention his wife, and his wife and his kids are in it, and they're great. They seem great.
Yeah.
And then they talk about Max Crosby. I thought that was really interesting. Very interesting. One of the more interesting things in either one of these shows is when Devontae Adams is talking to Max Crosby and saying, like, you guys are the most like what I do. And then he starts talking about hands and getting around people. And again, this goes back to what Devontae Adams is known for, which is winning with his reliefs. It's getting off press coverage. It's getting open, and how he uses his hands and his footwork and all that. And when he says it, you're like, dude, that's so obvious. Like these guys are like, they could, you know, like I bet a receiver, and I mean, these are two elite guys. Max Crosby, elite edge rusher.
Right.
Unbelievable dude.
Yeah.
Unbelievable football player. So those guys could sit next to each other and be like, this is, when I see this footwork, I see this stance, I see this whatever, this is what I do because I feel like he's off balance this way or whatever. I thought that was really cool.
No,
that was one of the things I really liked, and I think it was in episode 1.
Yeah.
But then they get into stuff like, you know, they wore the same outfit to the game.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I didn't really care too much for that, but I will say
cool.
I didn't even know that they had that type of like friendship because I feel like as like just someone on the outside of the NFL looking in, you would not think the number 1 wide receiver would be kind of that close of friends with someone on the defensive side of things, especially like even right off the bat you might be like, oh, wide receiver in a corner because they're matching up all the time. But
and so we talked about this too, about more about Hard Knocks, but like we'll get into with both things. There's a story to tell, right? The way these things are edited. So how close are they really? I don't know. It seems like they're pretty close.
Right.
It seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they are definitely editing things a certain way. Like it's clear that, you know, they want to tell certain stories. Again, like Kittle is about his wife. Like it's these things. But so that didn't really scratch the itch though of like being behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like this like, it's cool, but they're just telling stories. Whereas I feel like Hard Knocks, which I haven't really been a big fan of in a while.
Yeah.
It was really cool when it came out because it was unique. It was different. It was like, oh wow, like we've never really seen this. And I think this is the first year that they've done it with, I know that last year was the first year they did in season. They did the Cardinals. Yeah. Which is cool. It's almost always been preseason for those who somehow are listening to this podcast and have never heard of Hard Knocks.
Right.
I mean, I don't know who that guy is, but welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the pod.
Happy to be
happy to have you. But I think this is the first time they've done the preseason, and for me, it's been fascinating. I mean, I've covered, like my day job is I cover the NFL draft. I've done it for like 20 years. And seeing some of the stuff, like, you know, obviously I've known a lot of the stuff, but it's still really cool to get into it. And it's been more like, I mean, the whole Saquon situation with the Giants, like it's real. Like this is it's a personal thing. It's like, yeah, we can talk about contracts and we can talk about whatever, but the phone call, I think, is in episode 2.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward.
It is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like, looking back on it now, it almost feels like they're talking past each other.
Definitely.
They're saying all the right things.
Yeah.
Like if you took a transcript of that phone call, you're like, oh, it didn't go bad. But if you're listening, and you can tell, like even the way that Joe, I think we got the name right, Joe Shane, right?
Joe Shane, yeah.
It's not spelled that right, but we think it's Joe Shane.
So
he doesn't spell it right, but whatever. They, like you could tell, like of like, oh, you're gonna circle back with us though, right? Like, it's almost like a resignation. And they're like, he's leaving, and then Saquon even was a little annoyed there, if you're reading it again, I don't think you're picking up on it as much. But like,
Yeah.
even then, he was like, "I already told you where I want to be, man.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you guys know I want to be here."
Yeah.
And so it's like a little bit like when you're hearing this, you're like, "Oh, this is like how these phone calls go." Like, it's just,
Yeah, I started.
what are you gonna do?
I started thinking like all of the players, because obviously me and you will sit there and like be like, oh, where's this player gonna go? Oh, is this player gonna stay? Like T. Higgins being one of those guys, or even CD right now. But like that opened my eyes, because I was like, wow, they actually make those conversations, they make those calls, have those conversations. Like,
Yeah.
very awkward, and even because you're right, at the end of that call, it was like Joe could have hung up the phone, Saquon could have hung up the phone, but Joe then asked that other question of like,
Yeah.
basically wondering where he wants to go, and like you could tell from start to finish of that phone call that Saquon was like, yeah, I kind of moved on, and like it almost seemed like they didn't even have much of a relationship either,
Right.
which might be a reach, but that's
Well,
what that call
again,
made it seem
also,
like.
Joe Shane's been there for 2 years.
Right.
He didn't draft Saquon.
Yes, exactly.
So there's that part of it too. This isn't the guy who brought me in. This is a new staff. Like, it's been super frustrating. Like,
yeah,
you get it on a human level. You get it on both ends. Like, I get it from both of them. Like,
Yeah.
you can see why he's frustrated. Like, he feels like he should be paid.
yeah,
And I honestly, like, I can agree with him, and I can say you should have been paid. But I'm also going to say this: who's going to pay you?
there's no real market for it.
Right? Like, you. I mean, I don't know. I forget I don't know what money he got from the Eagles. So
I can.
yeah, maybe we should pull it up and look at it. But like, it's just the market's not there for running backs anymore. And he keeps calling. He keeps getting to it, right? He keeps saying 27-year-old running back, 27. He never like, he almost doesn't. Saquon Barkley's name to Joe Shane is 27-year-old running back.
Yeah.
And because that's how he's got to look at it. And you can listen. We can get into about the decisions they made there in the last 2 years. Should they have tried to replace Daniel Jones? Would have been really difficult with Jones' contract.
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably, this is the year. If he's, if it doesn't work out, then they're going to move on at the end of the year.
Right.
Because it's just too expensive right now. So, should they have taken a quarterback this year? It seems like when you're watching the show, they have their eye on a couple guys. They didn't fall to them,
Right.
and they couldn't move up for it to get him. So we'll see how that unfolds more, I guess, as the process goes along, and how much of an effort they made. But it just didn't work out. So they didn't get their quarterback. So you can make arguments about like, oh, they should be addressing the roster this way and that way, and I think Neighbors is an absolute dude who they drafted, but should they have taken an offensive lineman there? Like, you can really kind of get into about the decisions they're making. But if we're just talking specifically about Saquon, I don't think that's a bad decision on their part. And I don't think that's a knock on who Saquon Barkley is.
Right.
Like, Saquon Barkley's amazing.
Yeah, he's a dude, and I for some reason was obsessed with him when he was at Penn State. I mean,
Not for some
obviously,
reason, he's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, most people were, but and then even like him on the Giants, like I never liked the Giants growing up because they were Eli
That's
Manning with the
I grew up a
Patriots.
Giants fan.
And so it's kind of weird to be like rooting for a dude that's playing for the Giants, but kind of going back to like Saquon got paid 3 years, just under 38 mil to go to the Eagles, and
Which I think the Giants were 12, so that's the difference of 2 million. Sorry.
and but even like it extends even more where it could be worth up to 47 million. In my opinion, I'm not paying. Say if I'm the Giants, like I feel like with Joe, like even with the show did kind of convince me more, like seeing like his mannerisms when he's talking about the future of the Giants.
Yeah.
If I was a Giants fan, it sucks, but I almost would feel like, you know what, they are taking those right moves, because he's like, okay, we invested in Daniel Jones already.
Right.
Why would we reinvest into this dude and have both of those massive contracts? Instead, let's take a step back. Let's look at reality and see the fact that we already invested in Daniel Jones. Let's get a guy for him to potentially work with and be a stud with. And then we talked about this earlier. They did get Devin Singletary, who's coming off a pretty awesome year in Houston. So it's not like they were just like, see you later, Saquon.
He's not Saquon.
Right. No.
No one's saying...
not even close.
Right.
But it's not like they went out and got like some super young dude that's not really going to impact their roster at all. They got a guy that's going to get the job done, and we've seen in the last 2 years, I feel, even in fantasy wise, you don't really need that guy. You don't need that like absolute monster. You can get a guy that's just going to fill that role and play
guys
that
pop
role
up
well.
out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Like, guys you didn't think were like, so they drafted a guy who in the 5th round from Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
End of the 5th round. Yeah, that's right. I didn't know it was 6th. End of the 5th round. His name's Tyrone Tracy. Played wide receiver most of his career at Purdue. Switches to running back. Has a great year. It's the kind of guy like you just could pop. He's
Right.
the kind. He's talented.
Mm-hmm.
He another year at the position, maybe he gets a little bit better, more comfortable. You know, he can already catch the ball. And if you're like, dude, we're talking about Saquon Barkley. I get it, but you're not looking at the big picture. Like we're not comparing the players that they have. Like we're comparing on how you're allocating assets.
Mm-hmm.
Just briefly get into this really quickly because as long as we bring up the draft, I want to say this. It's like the Michael Penix thing with the Falcons taking Michael Penix and giving up that asset to get Michael Penix. It's not that Michael Penix isn't a good player. I didn't think he should have gone in the first round. I just didn't think that the tape and all of it was good enough.
Right.
Like, he was unbelievable. Some of his games he wasn't unbelievable.
Right.
And you have the injury history, which he was healthy for 2 years. All of these, like when you take it all into a thing, I didn't think he was a top 10 pick.
And the wide receiver room.
And the depth of the quarterback class, all of those things. I didn't think he was a top 10 pick. But that doesn't matter. They did. The problem is you can't commit to Kirk Cousins like you did and then take a guy there. Like you can't.
Right.
That's the problem. Like if you had just taken Penix there and you had Marcus Mariota still there on reasonable money and his contract's up in a year, I'd be like, I think it's a little early for Penix, but I get it. You love the guy, go get him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, I hope Michael Penix is awesome in the league. When he gets his shot, I hope he's awesome. Like he has a chance to be really good. I'm not saying that he's not like a bum of a player. That's not what I'm saying. I just thought it was early for the pick. And again, it's about the assets, and the Giants are looking at that like big picture, like they should be. Like how much money are we allocating here? We can't keep is giving Saquon this money going to prevent us from building an offensive line that can take care of Daniel Jones, who hasn't been able to stay healthy but has some talent and is flashed.
Definitely.
So that's what you got to do. Build your defense. Like they went out and got Brian Burns. I mean, that's a great trade for them to make.
He's an absolute beast. Yeah.
Yeah. So they look good defensively in a lot of spots. Like, and then if you can build that offensive line, and we talked about this too, but like that year they had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Kind of probably delayed the reset.
Definitely.
So, but anyways.
But even with at least one more thing with the running back room that they would potentially have is like, one dude that pops into my mind constantly when we talk about the running back market is a dude like Kyron Williams. I'm not sure how he would be on another team, but like the Rams show time and time again, we do not need that guy.
No.
And you can get the job done. And like
Yeah.
they won a Super Bowl not having that guy.
Right.
Like they didn't even have a top 5 running back or even a top 10 running back. Like in Kyron Williams, seeing what he did last year, you can have a guy like that for the Giants that just pops off for you, or just a guy that fits really well in the system. I mean, even the Patriots from Andre Stevenson, like he's not a Saquon, but he's gonna get the job done for you. Like we see that time and time again, or even Rashad White in Tampa. Like you see those type of dudes pop off, and you could have that happen and for cheap for the Giants, and you can do more things.
Right, and then there might be a guy you sign off the street. Like you might like,
right.
Who knows? Like there's it's too the history of the position, the wear and tear. There's too much information, too much data telling you don't do this. And then you got Mel Kiper Jr. rightfully, I think, saying over and over again, don't draft running backs in the first round. Mm-hmm. And it's the same approach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Couple other things that I thought were interesting was, and we talked about this, was you really got a better feel for the interview process at the combine. And I think when people hear like, oh, he interviewed well, or he interviewed poorly, like you see, like, I think sometimes, maybe I'm wrong, because I don't know what everyone else thinks, but sometimes people are like, oh, it's an interview, like you sit down with the GM and the coach and maybe another guy, and it's like, hey, so how's it going? And we just want to get to know you better. And like they kept saying that, like, which I thought was funny. Like some of the staff members were like, we just want to get to know the player better. It's not really like that.
No.
It's a grilling. It's like the room is packed. You're in a small chair. And by the way, they don't even talk about this. Those kids are tired. They're going room to room to room. They've gone through medical stuff. They're tired.
Yeah.
And now they're getting grilled in ways that like can be, and like we didn't see this with the Giants, and there's no reason to believe the Giants would do anything like this. I'm not saying that, but stories been leaked in the past about inappropriate questions, like inappropriate pressure, like all kinds of things on these kids. And it's like you got a good feel for like, and it made me think. And like I said, we are definitely not the smartest people. Like we're like, I shouldn't speak for you, but I am rarely the smartest person in the room.
Oh,
Like,
I'm in the same boat.
So, and we're talking about guys that have endless amount of money and resources. So I'm guessing teams have looked at the process and said, this is the best way to evaluate in this portion of the evaluation is to crowd them and ask them really difficult questions and like kind of needle them. And, that's the best way to evaluate a player, because to me, like, each player is different. And some guys, you're going to miss out, I think, on good football players, because some guys don't do well in that process, because that's just not how they're built.
Right.
And you don't have to be built that way to make it in the NFL, I think. So I'm wondering, like, has anyone ever thought about tweaking it? Like, even like tweaking it so it's specific to, and they do on some of them, so we'll get into it a little bit here.
Yeah.
Like, they talk about Malik Neighbors ahead of time, and they say this guy's kind of got like an edge to him. And not, they were very careful, I think. I don't think they were being demeaning or insulting him or any way. I don't think they were saying this is necessarily a flaw.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear about that. But they were saying he wants the ball. And we got to make sure that that's not going to be a problem. So, I think they used the word edgy. I know they used it after. So they got kind of into it. And then he comes in and he's like, he's a serious dude. And says, yeah, I want the ball. Like, I've been practicing all week and, I've been game planned in. Like, I want the ball. And Dave was like, that's good. Like, I want you to want the ball. But, like, we have to just make sure it's, like, harnessed. So you do kind of tweak the interview process there to be whatever. But kind of segue here a little bit. And I think this connects the two shows. We talked about it. Is that Neighbors was, like, kind of like, they said afterwards, he's like, I thought Neighbors was going to be edgier. I thought he was going to be more, like, fiery, more, like, whatever. And it's so interesting to me because I think Malik Neighbors, the 6th overall pick this year for the Giants, and Justin Jefferson I think they're just such similar players. And they went from the same school, same frame. Jefferson, I think, ran a 4.42 at the combine. Neighbors ran like in the 4.3s at his pro day. Maybe Neighbors is faster, but similar speed. Both of these guys can fly, right? Like Justin Jefferson, you watch him play, you're like, dude, you can fly.
Yeah.
So, and in the show Receiver, they talk about Justin versus Jets. It's Jets, right? Not Jet. I thought it would be Jet.
I think it's just Jet.
Is it just Jet?
Yeah, I think it's just Jet.
Because I kept hearing Jets, and I was like, okay, we got to figure that out.
Yeah,
we'll say
definitely.
Jet because it sounds right.
Yeah.
But Jet gets all the jewelry on, the sunglasses on, and Jet goes from this like kind of mild-mannered dude to like the swagger.
Yeah.
Like he's ready to roll. Like he is the baddest guy in the locker room, which he is, by the way. He's the best player on the field every time he goes on the field, in my opinion. I don't know. I think that's fair to say.
I think that's easily fair to say.
Right.
For sure.
He's that good.
Yeah.
And then with Neighbors, it was like, oh, maybe he's a little more. And again, this goes back to how you edit things. They wanted to tell a story about Neighbors, so they edited it to be like he was an edgy guy, and now he's not edgy. Like, so they edited it a certain way, but it comes across as like maybe it's like a little bit similar personality here. Now you're talking about just same school, same frame, same kind of speed and athletic ability, same kind of production. They were both awesome. And now, and I don't know if I mentioned, but like, yeah, no, we're talking about the same personality. Like, watch out, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's anything, if he's like 80% of what Justin Jefferson is, and he really can be. I mean, yeah. In my last rankings, he was a top 5 player at the same grade as Marvin Harrison at Ohio State. I think he's going to be a really good player. And people are looking at it as a generational talent. Watch out.
Yeah, and I think too, like exactly what you're saying with the editing, it might have made it seem that way, where maybe he isn't as edgy or anything like that. But my biggest thing where I'm almost on the Giant side, where they definitely had this sort of image of him when they would speak with him, of that side of Justin Jefferson, where basically that Neighbors would be everything and anything Jet, and that's it.
Right. Yeah,
that would be him 24/7.
Right. Right.
Jet.
Yeah.
And because,
that's a great way of putting it.
And I think the biggest reason why is, like, for me, I'm gonna follow any cool player on Instagram, and I fully remember is his Instagram handle is can't_guard_Malik. That's Jet.
Yeah, and he even says that in one of the clips. He's like, "You can't guard me."
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's a thing that was surprising for me when I was watching. And I think when they do say edgy, it is more them trying to say like
competitive,
very competitive, very high motor, like he's that type of dude where he's waking up and he's going to the gym and he's ready to just grind it out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it seemed like he was definitely a little step back, and just like Justin, where he kind of was in that room. It didn't seem like he was uncomfortable, but it seemed like he was a little shy. He was giving a little bit shorter answers.
Yeah.
He wasn't like,
It's tough.
yeah,
It's a tough
I'm
environment.
maybe, yeah, it's definitely a tough environment. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I'm watching those and I was like, first off, I couldn't handle that. There's 15 dudes staring at you as you're
Yeah.
in, and you, because you're right, they are definitely, that's a smaller chair than everybody else's chair.
Yeah, they're like
That's
a
what-
little, almost seems like they were lower.
Lower,
Like, maybe I'm
yeah.
wrong.
No,
but
that's exactly what
yeah.
it looked like though, because they're all in the same like floor. There's
All I'm
no
thinking about is-
there's no steps or anything.
You never watched The Office, right?
No, I didn't.
Michael Scott had he was like negotiating a contract with Daryl at one point, and he goes on and like all these tips, and so he like gives Daryl like a little chair, and like he kind of reminded me of that, like, are they trying to like play these like little mind games with these guys?
That's what it seemed like though, and I think the way where I think in full transparency, I think I would probably change it, and I hope that they would change it a little bit, because they talk about how they're like, we want to know the guy that we're putting in our locker room. I don't know if you're able to find that guy in that situation, because
Is that the best way to figure that out?
yeah, because the only way that you're able to figure out, because you saw with like Caleb Williams and Drake May, like they can handle and deal, and I'm not saying those other guys can't, but they can handle those uncomfortable, intense situations.
Right.
But I don't think that you're finding out the type of guy you're putting in your locker room with that case, because
Right.
that's what Shane, we'll keep saying Shane, but
I'm pretty sure it's right.
but that's what Joe keeps on saying, is that he wants to know this guy's personality, and I don't think a guy that you just put in a corner and pepper with questions and try to trip him up as well, because Dable did try to trip up Jaden Daniels at one point. You're not figuring out that type of guy, because Jaden you'll see on social media, you saw him during like the whole draft process. He's a very chill, like seems a little shy type of dude, and then you put him in that sort of situation, you don't really get to know Jaden.
And I will say this about him: if you look at his career and where he went from at Arizona State to where he ended up, he's kind of proven a little bit about who he is.
Yeah.
Like, and we'll see how it goes in the NFL. Like, I'm not saying like no one's a lock. Like, we'll see. Like, he's kind of proven that he's that guy that works his tail off and gets better and gets bigger and gets stronger, and like physically and mentally and all of those things. He's already shown those things. Now, in fairness, do you want to know where he is? He's kind of like how well he can run an offense. Now, I get that. But at the same time, like, I think some of those guys you already know based on what they've had to do.
Yeah. And Jaden had a good answer for Dable's, I think it was his first question, but he was asking about like, how do you deal with, because it's a New York media.
This is the one that got interrupted.
Yeah, and so he starts out where he's kind of asking him like, how would you deal with the lights, how would you deal with the pressure, like that sort of question, and he did give a good answer. He did get cut off, but he got a good answer where he was like, well, I did play at LSU, I did play in Tiger Stadium.
I have to disagree with you.
I like that answer.
I thought that was a terrible answer.
Really?
I loved when he talked about his family. I thought that was a great answer.
Definitely, yes.
Dude, playing at LSU is high pressure. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
Okay? It is nothing.
It is a bunch of drunk college kids.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nothing. And LSU fans and SEC fans are probably going to hate me for this. And I get it. Like, I or maybe they won't. I don't know. It is high pressure. Don't get me wrong. In terms of the college level, yeah. That's not like playing quarterback for the Giants, dude. You want to, like, if you were going to make that comparison to, like, the Cardinals, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, Arizona.
Yeah, I don't want to really, I'm like whispering it. Like,
Yeah, right.
Like a team that's been a smaller market team that hasn't done quite as well. I think you get more leeway, right?
Yeah. I mean,
playing for LSU is not playing for the Giants.
You're definitely right. Like, and
It's
with
just
the
not.
New York media too. Like, you're not dealing with that
way
media down
different,
there.
dude.
So I do get that.
They are ruthless.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a little bit more, and maybe I'm wrong, but I do think there's a little bit more of like, you're a little more gentle with a kid who's in college, and not enough. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think college kids take way more heat than they should. Like some of these quarterbacks in college, you like get criticized, I think, unfairly when you're like, dude, this kid's like 22. Well, calm down a little bit.
Well,
Like,
even younger than that, too.
I don't want to go Mike Gundy on you. I don't want to drop especially the way he's been recently, but I don't want to go, I'm a 4-year-old man.
Right.
Come after me. But he's not wrong. Like, he's not completely wrong in what he's saying. I don't love the way he said it and all that stuff, but he's not completely wrong. That said, really quickly, because I do want to move on with it. We could go on for this forever.
Yep.
We criticize the interview process Talk to me for a second about Roma Dunze.
I I loved Romo Dunze.
He's like in it for 3 minutes.
Yeah, he's in it for 3 minutes and he blows me away. Like
Right.
I was absolutely shocked. I liked Romo Dunze the whole time. I wanted for it never was gonna happen, but I wanted somehow magically the Patriots could end up with Romo Dunze. Like I don't know.
No shot.
No shot. Absolutely
unless
no
they
shot.
unless they weren't going to take a quarterback, which you would
Right.
at that
I
point
would've
be
been
like,
pissed.
what are we doing?
Right. But
Yeah.
I wanted to figure out some way to get the dude, and because they showed in the clips, they showed like this guy's a leader. Like we're excited to talk to this guy, and they kind of intro him,
Yeah.
and then he's sitting there, and it's like, holy crap, this guy could run for president. Like the way that he talks.
I wasn't ready to go there, but I said like he would be this. Like if football doesn't work out for him tomorrow, like if they're like, God forbid, because I want to watch this kid play. He's that good. Like it would be bad for everyone if this kid can't play football because he's that much fun to watch. So God forbid something were to happen, but he'd be a CEO in 5 years.
Definitely.
Like you just like and it takes you no time, and you can tell that he's got the same presence in the room because Dable says at the end of the interview, he's like, "Man, you're an impressive human being."
Yeah.
Something like that. You're an impressive human being. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Again, I want to make sure I'm not getting like just quotes off.
Pretty
of
much
it.
the same thing.
Sentiment was you're an impressive human being, right?
Yes.
And it was just, and before he's saying it, you're thinking it. Like
Right.
anyone who's watching that is like, man, this kid like, and he's so quick to respond. He's so like alert and aware and like, and I don't know if that's the right way to respond, but like he's like in the moment. He's like here, like you feel like he's here with you, like we're having a conversation. You know what I mean? Like he's just smart, fast, like. So I mean that as much as the interview process, whatever, he was a guy who like shined through, like immediately.
Yeah, and I think my last thing about him too that really impressed me was just for myself watching someone in that sort of situation, because we just talked about how intense that was and it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But and it also looked like they were in a smaller, shorter chair, but you're looking at that dude and it almost seemed like he was bigger than all those other dudes. He's a big dude,
right?
but
He is,
but like when Caleb Williams answers, he's hunched over and like he's looking at the TV and then he's looking back, and then even with like Drake May, he's leaned over on the chair. And
well, they're in different situations, but you're right. You're right.
In the editing, but when you look at Rome, like you're exactly right. He answers quick, but at the same time, he's staring right back at all those people in the room, and it's awesome.
Our buddy Roth, his kid Parker, is in high school right now, and we were talking about words that young people use now, and we were talking about like Riz for charisma. I guess the new thing is aura. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
That dude's got aura.
That dude's got aura. Yeah.
So like Parker, so if I was in high school, I'd be like that dude's got aura.
Yeah.
Like he's got presence. Like he almost takes up more space in a good way.
Yes,
like you were like that you realize when he's in the room.
Right.
Kind of a deal. All right, let's transition real quick. This would be something probably I won't talk as much about and crowd you. I feel like I've been taking up most of the space here.
You're good.
But let's get into the men's Olympic team. A lot of stuff to talk about here.
A lot.
You want to talk about their starting five, right?
Yeah.
You also want to start. We can get into the Jaylen Brown stuff, which I think we should.
Definitely.
And then comparing it to the Dream Team, which I think is so funny.
It'll top it off.
It's not. I think it's funny because I think. Like, this is the argument someone my age has with your age. This is basically, in a different way, the Jordan, LeBron argument, right?
Yeah.
It's just packaged a little bit different.
Yeah.
But let's get into the starting five. Tell me, first of all, I watched, I think, most of the first half the other night. Wasn't, like, so excited about this. And I was like, first of all, it started at 10:30.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I'm old.
Yeah.
And it was a decent game. I know that Canada got out early, which I think is why you hate the starting five.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go there. Who started the other night? Do you know?
I'm gonna try to piece it together. I might butcher it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But I believe that the starting five was Curry, Devin Booker. I'll get into. LeBron James, and I believe it was Embiid as well as brain fart. Oh, Drew Holiday. And I do like the Drew Holiday part. I do enjoy that.
Stunner that the Celtics fan,
Right.
hardcore Celtics fan is like, well, Drew Holiday should definitely have started.
Right. And I guess just to start us out with that starting five, I don't think it's bad. My issue with it and just watching them play is
That's
that
not what you said half an hour.
the chemistry was clearly not there. And I understand that they only played together for like barely a week and they were getting cooked by Cooper Flag and whatever. But my issue with that starting five was they basically just took a bunch of offensive guys, and LeBron is good at defense, but they kind of just added Drew Holiday on top of that, being like, yeah, hopefully this makes us better defensively. And my issue with it as well is just it seemed like they were almost playing favorites in a way, as if those were the first 5 guys to say yes to make the team, and they just rolled with them. And and we can kind of go into the 5 that we would want, but I think I would leave Curry in there. I think I would.
I mean, you probably leave Steph Curry in there.
Yeah.
I think it's, listen, I don't want to call you Steve Curry yet, but so far you're off to like a Hall of Fame.
Right? I think I already get.
I mean, I don't know if the Celtics are looking for a coach, but watch out, Missoula.
Right? Give me the gold already at this point. But
that's how you're starting this. I think I'd start Steph Curry.
Yeah, I think I would just run with Steph Curry. 5 Steph Currys is what I would do.
I'd bring Clay back.
But no, definitely not. But I would go Curry, and then I would go with Ant. And the reason for Ant is the motor. My biggest issue with that 5 was I felt that there was no motor. There was no sort of like, yo, we're gonna show what Team USA basketball is about, especially because they just got called out by Noah Lyles, the track star. Gets called out. Oh, you guys say that you guys are the world champions, but you guys only play in the U.S. You just got called out for
I didn't know that had happened.
Yeah, so and they just got called out, and then they come out and they just kind of coast by Canada, and like which
Dude,
isn't
Canada
a bad.
Coast by. First of all, they were down 10 early, right?
Yes.
First of all, not a great start.
No, but and that's my thing is the starting 5. There was no motor to be like.
So
yo,
that
we're
I
gonna
think
get
you
out
could.
there.
I think you make. First of all, we're making 2 different arguments here. Okay, so make your starting 5 argument.
Okay.
And then maybe we'll get into the roster a little bit. Is this the best roster that the United States has? Probably not. This team could probably be better in certain ways.
Yes.
That gets into, is it just a collection of talent, or is a team, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're now getting into like criticizing the overall roster, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So bad start I get. Let's start there.
Yeah.
So give me your starting 5.
So my starting 5 would be I would go.
You have
Curry
Curry
at the
Edwards.
1, Curry, and then I'm going Edwards at the 2.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna run it with LeBron at the 3.
Again, we're really like that earth-shattering moves here.
I know, right? But it's slightly small ball, but not really. And also, before I do say the last 2, I'm going with KD being hurt, and that like he's someone that we can't put in the 5. But
because he's not even practicing right now, I think.
Yeah, he's not really practicing at all or anything.
Right. Did he play?
No, he didn't play in that game.
All right.
So then I'm going, and shocker, Celtics fan, I'm going with Tatum because of the defense, the facilitating that he can do, and the fact that he doesn't really need the ball in his hands to score. He's a decent spot-up shooter.
I'm fine with that.
And then my 5 is I'm then going with Anthony Davis. So it's
the best player in the league, you said earlier, right?
I did not say that. I said that I would potentially put him in my 5.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm pretty sure you say he's better than Jordan.
I did. I might have said that. But that would be my 5. So Curry, Ant, LeBron, Tatum, AD, and I like it because, like I was saying before,
So wait, who do we ever? I feel like I'm jumping around now. I'm killing you. Devin Booker started?
Devin Booker started.
That's interesting.
Right, and so that's my.
Listen, I'm not people who like, oh, do you think Devin Booker's the worst? If you're on this team, even if we're gonna start to make arguments about guys that maybe could be on this team. If you're on this team, you're crazy good. So let's just start.
Yes, definitely.
It's like when people talk about like, oh, that guy. They talk about like the Patriots fans around here. Oh, I could catch a pass better than Dame and Dolan.
Right,
No, you couldn't do it. Like, just stop talking.
Exactly.
So, if you're on this roster, so let's start here with the base. You're crazy.
You're a stud, yeah.
So Devin Booker is crazy good.
Yes.
I'm looking at this roster. No way I'm starting Devin Booker. So, did Steph start?
So it was. I just looked it up. It was Steph, Booker, Drew Holiday, and I believe
so
Booker
with 3 guards.
and Drew Holiday. Yeah, 3 guards, and then you go LeBron and Embiid, and.
That's weird because it's not like Tatum can't bring like all those guys can bring the ball.
And my only other thing that I will say with Tatum though is the fact that he showed up late, and that could have just been like, dude, he showed up late
because he was winning a championship.
The championship, but also he signed the contract and he did it in Boston, did a whole press about it, and did a whole ordeal with that.
It's not like he's been sitting around for like a month though.
Right? Yeah, no, he wasn't sitting around, but
in terms of their actions and what they're gonna do.
Yeah, they already ran like 2 practices without him. But yeah, I think that would be my 5: Curry, Ant, LeBron, Tatum, AD, and I think that fits well because Ant has the motor, Curry has your shooting, LeBron is also able to bring defense, Ant is an unreal defender, Tatum is able to be kind of that Swiss Army knife, again, by Celtics.
Yeah, I like positionless basketball.
But
Like,
then I get that AD and LeBron chemistry going, and AD's defense is just phenomenal. So I think with that 5, you come out hot and you're up 10, not down 10. Especially against when you look at Canada's roster, you would have.
Dude, that roster's pretty good.
It is good, but you would have AD matched up with Powell, and then you would have and then I mean we saw what.
So Kelly Olynyk does not start.
I mean Kelly Olynyk is unreal. Celtics bias.
Former Celtic.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's like shout out Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So there's a couple things I want to get into here.
Yeah.
One that we didn't even talk about. I just have to talk about this. We are both. I mean, I think we both grew up. I mean, in this area. So we're in southern New Hampshire.
Yep.
You know, Massachusetts. That's kind of areas that we've been in. I hate the Miami Heat because everyone should hate the Miami Heat. That being said, is Bam Adebayo that good?
Bam Adebayo and
I saw something the other day where someone said that Bam was way better than Porzingis.
So I would not say he's way better than Porzingis.
But you would take him over Porzingis. And not for this roster because Porzingis is not.
Right.
I'm talking about a different argument now.
Yeah.
Is Bam? So he's that good?
Bam's a dog, and my biggest thing with
it's more moving screens than any human I've ever seen.
Yes, without a doubt. That
he's
dude,
he's a human moving screen.
He works well in Miami because they're just allowed to foul the crap out of you, and Bam does a great job.
Yeah, because it's all in the bag for Miami.
Exactly, exactly.
Pat Riley made some kind of deal. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
The refs like the warm weather down there.
Yeah.
I think that
they don't pay taxes or get called for fouls.
Right, exactly. And so that's where I think, in my opinion, I would take KP over Bam after the season that we just saw KP do offensively. But Bam is unreal.
I mean,
I think he gets snubbed a lot.
In fairness, he's killed Celtics teams for years. So it's not like I think he's bad.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think and I guess this is what I should have done. I should have been better prepared here. I should have gone who are the American centers I would take over him. But I just was surprised.
I don't think there's any. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think you need to look it up whatsoever. I don't think that there's any other center that's left off of this roster that's from the States that you would take over Bam. And the other thing too is if you do look at chemistry wise.
Well, what does Flag play? Power forward.
Oh, Flag's tough though. And he's like a small forward. He's one of those dudes that you would see as like a point forward in a way.
He's like a Tatum.
He's like a Tatum.
Maybe yeah.
He could bring the ball up the floor. I mean, he's been doing it in scrimmages against the big dogs. So.
I mean, he might be the best player ever.
He might be the best player ever. We might be looking at Larry Bird. Yeah. Who knows?
We could be.
And a little sidetrack, but something that I did see that was funny was Baylor Shireman, who the Celtics just drafted. Of course, it's his high school coach, but they interviewed the high school coach, and he basically was like, "This is a second coming of Larry Bird."
Oh God!
And it was like, okay, dude, let's tone it back a little bit. Gotta love those high school coaches.
I had this before. Okay, so I want to get into. Let's transition from that. I think you make a strong argument that you can go with a different starting five, and maybe they do once Tatum's kind of all caught up.
And
Tatum hate needs to end, by the way.
It does.
He is. I mean, so good.
Yeah.
So, and we were talking about this top 5 players because I've seen this and people I feel like Tatum's not in that conversation anymore, and I just think that's crazy to me.
Yeah. People have removed them.
I don't know why. So, anyways, I got this back up for. I was looking at the age of some of these guys for the next argument. But anyways, let's get back on track. Kawhi drops out. Derek White gets the call.
Still surprised, but I loved it.
Let me tell you something. I don't know if you're going to find a bigger fan of Derek White. And that's saying something around here. Because people around here love Derek White. Yeah. I don't know if you're going to find a bigger fan of Derek White than me.
100%.
But
he's your type of guy. You like the grit and grime. You like the Swiss Army knife. You like that.
But he's more than that. So this is the thing that I think we get into. I think JJ Redick has a term for those guys, and he kept saying, I forget what the term is. It's killing me. But he calls those guys a certain thing, and he's like, he's not that guy anymore. Yeah. He's elevated to another level. Mm-hmm. He's gone to a different tier. Yeah. And I agree. And Redick obviously knows way more than I do. So me and JJ. He's gone to another level. He's a different dude. He's not just that great guy. his defense is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But if he drops 28, you're like, oh, he just had a Derek White game.
Yeah.
Like if you watch the Celtics team enough, you know that all of the 4 of those guys, even Horford can do it every once in a while. It's really their 5 starters if you count Porzingis, right?
Yeah.
They can all go.
Yeah.
24 to 30. And you're like, oh, I mean, some of them get 30. If Drew gets 30, you're like, oh, he had a great night. But you're not like, oh, this is insane. You see Drew Holiday at 30? You know what I mean? Like they can all do that. But Derek White over Jaylen Brown, dude?
It's definitely tough. And even
Drew Holiday over Jaylen Brown.
I think so. The Drew Holiday one, I will say, I think that he was chosen just because he's been part of the USA team and organization, if you want to call it that, for a long time. He was on the last Olympics team, so like he's been very much involved. He was on the FIBA team as well, so I think that's what it is. But it's also, I think it does come down because we've seen what Steve Kerr has done with the Warriors. I think he really enjoys that leadership aspect, and I think Drew brings that.
Are you saying that Jaylen Brown's not a leader?
No, he's definitely a leader. Don't drag me into that.
Exactly.
But he's definitely a leader.
But that's what you have to be careful.
Right.
You have to be careful. I'm saying Drew is a great leader.
But the only thing is,
so is Jaylen Brown.
I would say the only thing with the Drew versus Jaylen though is that Drew gives you that very much a number one like point guard. He gives you that lockdown defender from a point guard position, and he also is a fantastic facilitator.
So is Derek White. So now you have 2 of those guys.
But then the conversation is, do you take Drew over Derek? And I would take Drew over Derek.
So what you're saying is that Jaylen Brown is the Isaiah Thomas of this team.
Which Isaiah Thomas? Pistons are...
Isaiah got left off the 92 team.
Right, yes. Yes.
That was the talk. Like, why is Isaiah not on that team? And if you look at the roster, you're like, that roster's good.
Yeah.
Probably a little better with Isaiah on it.
Right.
But
definitely.
I felt like with Isaiah, it was clear. Like, he had
issues with Larry.
He had rubbed guys the wrong way.
Yeah.
Larry, Jordan, the rumor is, and I think that Jordan said that this isn't true, but the rumor is that Jordan was like, he's not. If he's on the team, I'm not.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, he had issues with multiple guys on that team.
Definitely.
But I don't like Jaylen Brown stuff is so like I don't know whether there's something there and I don't know what it is. Like you hear it's because he's too smart, which is just crazy to me.
Which was backed in like his draft profile.
This is how crazy things are. Like he's too smart.
Yeah.
He's too smart.
And
what are we talking about?
And the other thing too that I have seen where people were worried about what and the other thing that I do want to say before I do say this is he doesn't talk that much or even a lot about anything going on in society or other countries or anything like that. But one of their concerns that I saw from the media's perspective was, they're worried about what he would say in the press while over in Paris or what he would say while he's in an interview on the court and over in Paris. Why? He's never been that player where you're sitting there watching him like, oh, Jaylen, you shouldn't have said that. Like, he's never been that kind of guy.
And by the way, that's who we are now? That we don't want that guy to go over there and say those things?
Exactly.
Shouldn't we be more pro that now than anything else?
Definitely.
Like, shouldn't we be empowering players to say things? Are we doing U.S. Olympic roster selection with the mentality of shut up and dribble?
Yeah, exactly.
That's scary.
And that's very scary. And it's definitely something that's...
and I'm not saying...
That's very scary.
I don't know what Jaylen Brown's politics are. They could be the opposite of what my politics are. Yeah. So I don't want to say Jaylen Brown should be able to say whatever because I think he's going to say the same thing as me. I think that, or what I believe, I just think guys should be allowed to speak. We're now in it, this is a wild thing where I don't want to get into this too much. This is a bad. Firstly, on the first pod, we're going to start getting into the politics of whether or not athletes should be able to speak. Let's just squash it right now and be like, that should not be a factor at all.
Yeah.
At all. It shouldn't even be something they contemplate about whether he's going to be a PR problem because he might be talking about something that's sensitive.
Yeah.
Stop. He doesn't, just stop doing that. I hate that might be a thing. Let's get into it because we're starting to run out of time. This thing is going fast.
Oh, yeah.
Already faster than I thought. Do you still want to do it? Do you still want to compare the 2024 men's Olympic basketball team versus the Dream Team? And let's make something clear. We talked about this and I want to make it clear too. This team, the 2024 team, doesn't need to make the run that the Dream Team made, where they were just like, I mean, destroying these international teams that didn't really have anywhere near the talent. Like if you watch if you didn't watch the Canada game the other night, there are dudes from the NBA littered all over that roster.
Yeah.
They have SGA as a 2-time first NBA player.
Yep.
Right.
He was a finalist for MVP.
He's probably one of the top 5, top 6 players in the league.
Definitely.
So you're looking at that guy, and he's done it twice, first team all. So you start there, and then they have other guys like
they have Jamal Murray, who won a ring
Nemhard, who I like fell in love with during the Pacers Celtics series.
And was low-key scared of during
the
Celtics series.
Dude, he was awesome.
Yeah, no, he was an absolute beast.
I was like, I don't know who because I'm not like, I don't watch every NBA game. I watch the Celtics, and I'd seen the Pacers games. I don't remember him being that good. I mean, maybe I felt like he came out at the playoffs, like decided he was just gonna be he's now just a player.
But he reminds me of almost like a Derek White type of dude.
Yeah, no, absolutely,
exactly and I think that's the other thing too. And that this is definitely a sidetrack, but I starting to see, like, I just saw the Taj Gibson signing. I'm starting to see teams that are trying to find their Derek Whites, trying to find their Al Horfords, where they're pieces that you can.
They've been doing that for years, though. Like you own that role guy, right?
Right, exactly.
So, anyways, like he's on the Canadian roster. So, just to get before we get too far off track, the 92 team was playing guys that I don't want to be mean or insulting or demeaning to, but it was a very different level of competition. So we can't compare like their win-loss or their average margin of victory. That would be something it's apples and oranges, right?
Yeah.
That being said, you're ready to compare. You're ready to say this team is 2 times better than.
No. So
the Dream Team?
So I'll say
3 times better.
Yeah, 4 times better actually. No, I'm down to do it. Definitely just for fun. But I do think that it's up for conversation for this 2024 team to be in the same conversation as the Dream Team, and I do believe if they were to face off, that the 2024 team would win
in today's game.
In today's game.
Well, it's
and what I will say is, yeah, I'll definitely do like international rules, all of that. Like we'll do it full Olympic wise, not like today's NBA. Like, oh, the Dream Team will be too physical, and the refs will have their whole roster fouled.
Yeah, because you get 5 fouls to it. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of like that's actually a thing for the '92 team.
Right, exactly. So
because they would just come in and try to murder ball people.
Yes, which
not that they're not
which
talented,
is pretty awesome.
But yeah, they would. They would. I mean, they would immediately set the tone.
Yeah.
I mean, Kobe wasn't on that '92 team. But I'm thinking of Kobe when running through Paul Gasol.
Oh yes.
That kind of thing.
That was awesome.
Someone would do that.
Yes.
It might even be Jordan.
Yeah.
Someone would be like early on, SGA is going to step on this court, and I'm going to let him know, like,
yeah,
I'm going to be hitting you all night.
Yeah.
So anyways.
And I will say too, also is I would definitely take this 2024 team over that Redeem team, which was fantastic. I would definitely take them over that.
Redeem team was good.
That team was very good because that was with the Kobe clip where he runs through Powell. But like
that's the
Redeem
team.
You have a young LeBron, like that is a legit team. But my take on it is the 2024 team offensively would be too much for the Dream Team to handle. You have dudes 1 through 5 that can shoot threes on you. You have dudes 1 through 5 that can
make. So the 3-point line is a little bit closer in the international game.
Yes, yeah.
And it's a little bit smaller court. Now, I don't know, like, it's like feet. It's like the smaller court is like, it's not that much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But does it make a difference in that those guys who you think are a little less athletic?
Yeah.
Stop talking about my boy Larry Bird like that. So guys are a little less athletic, which I'm, oh God, it kind of burns me a little bit. But anyways, they don't have to cover quite as much ground. We're talking about like a couple feet.
No, that is true. That is true.
And shooting is closer. Like we're talking, the shooting thing kind of bugs me. The offense, like they have too much offense.
Yeah, I think you have, because for me, like David Robinson does scare me from that roster. Patrick Ewing, those are absolute beasts, but they're not at the perimeter. I also don't think they could be at the perimeter guarding. So if you have, let's say you have Patrick Ewing like at the 4,
you think
or even Charles Barkley, I don't think could meet Jason Tatum at the perimeter and be able to stay in front of him. Yes, he would probably have to meet David Robinson at the rim, but at the same time, your defense is shut down at that point, because I do not see their 4s or 5s being able to be at the perimeter to guard those dudes. Like Anthony Davis is going to be chilling at the perimeter. They want to take it's what the Celtics did with the Mavericks. They spaced them out too much. So I think you would space out that dream team too much, and that would be the issue. But I do understand the flip side as well. Like this dream team was ridiculous defensively.
Here's where I start. Okay, let's start with, because I think this is something that came up in the Mavs Celtics series where the best player usually wins, and we saw that wasn't the case because Luka is the best player on the court. As much as we love the Celtics, it's Luka.
Yeah, face reality. Yeah,
It is the reality, right? He's the best player on that court, and I know Celtics fans, he doesn't play defense. I get it.
Get over it.
That being said, Jordan, LeBron. Now we're comparing. LeBron is now 39 years old, and Michael Jordan on that team was 29 years old.
10 years younger, yeah.
And even though all those other guys were on the team, we know from all the documentaries, we know at this point that Jordan was the alpha. I mean, a room full of alphas, and Jordan was the guy. He was, at that age, 29, still the alpha. You know, guys who like really saved the NBA. You can make an argument to save the NBA, and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, like he's the alpha. Now we look at that team, the dream team. We're like, oh, those guys were old. You know, Larry Bird was 35 and beat up, and Larry Bird was beat up. He was, you know, could barely play, laying on his stomach with the back. If you're a Celtics fan, or maybe you're just an NBA fan, you know he's beat up at the end. And he was 35, and Magic, I think, was 32. Yeah, 35 and 32. And you're like, oh, look at that team, man. They had some older players. And you start looking at it, you're like, dude, Kevin Durant's 35 years old. LeBron's 39. Steph Curry is 36. And you're just, like, I'm just going to, like, kind of turn this on you and twist your words a little bit. Drew Holiday, 34. These guys, like, an older team, man. And we just talked about motor. They had no motor when they came out. They didn't have that motor. So, like, at their primes, okay, if we take the same rosters at their primes, I think you have a better argument. But give me 29-year-old Jordan and basically a bunch of, like, really good players, and I'm taking them over this team.
Valid. I will say definitely valid. But my only other thing, and I could be the only one seeing this, but I do see it in a similar way, and I don't want to join like Stephen A. and get up and First Take and start saying that Anthony Edwards is Michael Jordan. Definitely not saying that. But with this 2024 team that I'm seeing is that I, in my opinion, do not see this being LeBron's team or Curry's team. I see them as that. I don't. I see it as a Tatum. I see it as a Anthony Edwards team. I see it for those younger guys, and I think with my starting lineup, you get the motor.
This is what I'm arguing with you. You don't know who the guy is on this team because LeBron's older. You don't know who the guy is on this team. You don't know who the leader is. You don't know who the Kobe is of the Redeem team. Kobe on the Redeem team, he was the alpha, right?
Yes.
So, and I hate that word.
But
using it for this argument. So I hate throwing out alpha. So maybe there's another word, like the leader. We'll just say the leader.
Yeah.
Kobe's he's definitely the leader.
Yep.
LeBron's definitely the leader of the 2024 team. Sorry.
No.
I love Steph. LeBron's definitely the leader of this team, right?
But I think Steph might be. I think Steph,
all right, we'll say Steph
is being showcased as a leader.
Steph is the leader of this team.
But what we've seen in the past, like with the Redeem team, yes, you could look at that roster and be like, Kobe's definitely the leader of that team. But there's definitely people where LeBron was also leader, because you started seeing LeBron, like, obviously we saw what he did in the NBA, but you saw him overseas, and it was like, wow.
Dude.
And that's where I see this team is where...
LeBron was awesome on the Redeem team. That was Kobe's team.
Yes. But now you're seeing Anthony
It was Jordan's team, it was Kobe's team, and now we don't know whose team it is.
Anthony Davis. No, Anthony Edwards.
This is Anthony Edwards' team?
This is Anthony.
Oh my God.
Right now.
Oh my God. This is the worst take you've had on the pod.
But
You almost made it. You almost made it.
But listen. I will say this also. We've seen them in one exhibition game. We will see them in Paris, see what they're able to do.
Fine point.
You'll see their leader. You will see their actual starting five. We'll see all of that start to...
I want to clarify, okay? Steph Curry is... Steph Curry. Like, he puts people to sleep. Like, he puts games to bed.
That stupid thing. I hate that.
I kind of love it.
I hate it. He did it to us. How can you love it?
I know he did it to us.
Because it's
awesome. Because it's awesome.
In the Garden.
It's hard not to like Steph Curry.
With the green crowd in the back,
Stop.
he did it.
And I think that I hate the argument that I think, because some people look at Steph, I think some of it's about his frame. He's not a good leader. That's not what I'm saying. Steph's a great leader. If you're telling me game is on the line and someone like is not going to be denied, Jordan, Kobe, Steph. Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. Whoever you want to put.
Yeah.
Who's the killer on your team? Who's the assassin on your team? Who's going to make everyone else that same way?
I think that assassin's Curry though. And because I get what you're saying though, but then we start getting into like the like image of that
Also,
player, because Kobe is like Black Mamba and like you know that he's a Black Mamba, and Jordan, he's Jordan, but
Yeah.
Curry is that he's always been the silent assassin, and
Don't get me wrong, great player.
but he to me, especially if you played the Dream Team versus this team, he is unstoppable. I do not think John Stockton could guard Steph Curry and stay in front of Steph Curry.
I think like again, this is like someone like not knowing Stockton's game. I think.
But for me, is John Stockton has to worry about a lot of other things like this.
So the matchups are an issue.
Yes,
There are certain matchups. Although I will say this, you are really, I don't think you're giving Scottie Pippen enough credit as a defender.
I love Scottie Pippen.
6'8", long, dude he's a really good defender.
But you can only have him on one rotation. Though.
Exactly. So I agree with you that matchups are a problem. So there are some matchups that are our problem. I just think that I'll also say this: we maybe look at the foul thing the wrong way, right? Because you have a bunch, I think, of guys who are slashers on that team for the Dream Team.
Definitely, yeah.
And excellent assist guys who are putting people in bad positions defensively, like the way that you would receive the ball and guys trying to recover or rotate would lead to fouls, right? So maybe the foul thing is more of a problem for this team than it would be for, and that's almost counterintuitive because of how physical the game was, but they would be driving more. They'd be going to the hoop way more, or not way more, but I think they would be going to the hoop more. They're going to drive. They're going to try and draw contact. They not only want to create contact on the defense floor, they want to create on the defensive end. They want to create contact on the offensive end too.
Yeah.
So they would do that. They would go at guys. They would, and how they would respond, I don't know, man. I just feel like
how they would respond is definitely a fantastic question.
How they respond, how the game would be called, all of these things.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say there, and I've never liked him, but I definitely
But this is Anthony Edwards, dude.
This is Anthony Edwards.
Hey, by the way, Anthony Edwards is awesome again.
I will stand by that though. Like Anthony Edwards, I do think in a month from now, after Paris, we are going to be like, wow. I really think that we are going to be.
We'll see.
Because I mean, the other thing for him too is that he has that. Because we talk about.
But we're talking about him in comparison to LeBron.
Yes, no, I know, but we're also talking about 39-year-old LeBron.
He should be the leader right now.
He's 39.
He's the leader.
He's 39. Even on the Dream Team, like
years,
Larry should have been the leader, but he was 35, and Michael
that's a good
was
point.
29. So that's my only other thing is
there's a little difference between Michael at 29 and Anthony Edwards.
Yes, 100%. But you also it's Anthony Edwards at 22. He's super young, and he also my other thing for him is,
I think he's like 1 or 2 Olympics away though. That's what I mean. I think 26-year-old Anthony Edwards is going to be amazing.
Yes.
Anthony Edwards, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Anthony Edwards that we know now a year ago. He's exploded after the last year. Right?
His offensive game has changed a lot.
And let's see where he goes.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit.
The potential is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait. I think, and this is a different conversation. The NBA is in a really good spot right now, man.
Yes.
And
we're seeing the baton get passed.
It's exciting to see these guys play. Like I love watching Anthony Edwards play. Saying at 22, he's had one incredible year.
Yeah.
A great run. That the Olympic team that has LeBron, Steph, like whoever else you want to name, is his team.
I mean, I'll say one last thing for it.
I feel like you got to dig in here.
I gotta keep going. I gotta
make your point. I'll let you have the last word.
I'll speak the final word.
And then we got to start wrapping it up. Go ahead.
And my biggest thing for it is that we talk about Kobe and his mentality and the Black Mamba. We talk about Jordan and his mentality. How he was just that dude. He showed up in the gym and he was like, yo, we're running up and down this court. Anthony Edwards came out and we didn't hear a thing about him. We didn't see clips, nothing.
Right.
And he's in the media and he's like, no, I'm the number one option. And people are like, wait, what? And he was like, no, I'm the number one option. And he then gets put on the second team.
Right.
And he comes out and he's one of the leading scorers, an absolute dog, the most efficient player that we saw from that game.
See,
And so that's my only other thing. And listen, I'll be fully transparent. I fell asleep in the fourth quarter. Like
Right.
I didn't watch the full thing either. I don't think a lot of people did.
Exhibition game against Canada.
Right, exactly. And so that's kind of my last piece is that we could see that. I know it's definitely more me relying on the potential of him, but that's the biggest piece that we saw with Kobe and Jordan was that they called their shot and they went out and did it. Anthony Edwards called his shot and kind of showed it, so potentially we'll see it. He's the next Michael Jordan.
We have to revisit. We'll revisit after this Olympics.
Yes, we will.
But you're ready to crown Anthony Edwards the best basketball player of all time after an exhibition game against Canada in an interview where he said, "I'm the number one option."
I mean, he's got that mentality.
This podcast is me putting words in your mouth.
Pretty much.
All right, let's transition away. We were going to talk about NCAA football. I don't even think we have the time. We're already an hour in, so we're gonna save it because it comes out this week.
Yep.
When do you leave for Italy?
I leave for Italy on the 25th, so 2 weeks. But I think at least NCAA football last small thing.
No. I think you're looking at this the wrong way. Like you're gonna have time to play it and talk about it. I hate that. I wanted you to leave Wednesday, so that I got 2 weeks of playing NCAA while you're like, having some wine with your girlfriend and her family and wine in Italy, like going to the coast, having great food. Well, I'm getting better. I just want to be getting better while you're like totally distracted. Now you have like a couple weeks to get it in.
Exactly.
I'm not that excited about it.
Start to learn the game. But at least to give us what team you're going to use in Dynasty.
I'm a Richmond Spider. I'm going to go Spiders. Now, we talked about this again. We can't get into this too much. We're going to get into it later on.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And we'll have more information once we play it. But
for sure.
I'm a Spider.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can take the Spiders from where they are now. They just changed conferences. I don't even know what they are anymore. It's Atlantic 10, CAA. They're going to something now, a new one now. Can you take them from where they are, move them up from FCS to FBS, and then get them into a Power 4? Can you do that within this game? Both, I think you can do it, but can you recruit well enough to do it?
Yeah.
Or are they going to make it so realistic that it's going to be really hard to get those kind of players?
Right.
To over the course of a dynasty to move up. Still taking the Spiders and saying whatever, and then when I get frustrated, I'll probably go Oregon because they have a ton of money and I love the uniforms. I think Lanny's a great coach. If I get frustrated, I probably won't go that high. I'll probably go to some kind of mid-level team.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that high.
Oregon.
Oregon.
Oh.
I get it. They're definitely that.
That's a
the
top 10
higher
program,
tier.
man.
But I don't think it's not like you're hopping on Alabama or Michigan.
Let's see how Alabama is now.
That is true.
Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Yeah, but at least you're not hopping on Michigan.
Let's see how that goes.
Oh yeah, true. I just listened to
there's
two teams without
that's exactly right.
experienced coach.
There's some changing of the guard in college football,
right? Which is cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
It is. It's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the first episode of Screening the Screener. That's what we're calling it.
Screening the Screener.
Yeah, perfect. I like it.
Which is also Curry very good in that sort of offense with Screening the Screener. So just to leave you with that.
Sam Hauser.
Good point. Shout out the Celtics. Shout out Sam Hauser.
Shout out Sam Hauser. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there. We didn't even really think of an ending. We don't even know when we're coming back on. This is the first. Hopefully we get better. Hopefully hopefully we don't go home and be like, but I think it went pretty well.
I think it went pretty well. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll see when episode 2 comes out. Hopefully it's before you go to Italy.
Yeah.
All right.